It begins deep beneath the earth, where crude oil for petrol is brought to life. Crude oil for petrol flows upward under relentless mechanical force. The journey of petrol begins as crude oil travels through hidden arteries. Precision control directs crude oil toward its transformation into petrol. Across vast fields, crude oil for petrol is harvested continuously. Steel pipelines guide crude oil toward industrial refinement into petrol. Pressure builds as crude oil moves closer to becoming petrol. The raw material of petrol surges forward with unstoppable force. Even before refining, crude oil for petrol is carefully examined. Its dense composition holds the potential for petrol. Crude oil waits in massive tanks before becoming petrol. Each drop moves closer to its transformation into petrol. Preparation ensures safe movement toward the refinery. Now the journey toward the refinery begins. From extraction to movement, crude oil begins its path to petrol. Crude oil for petrol now enters the transport network. Controlled channels direct crude oil toward its next destination. Tankers carry crude oil essential for petrol refining. Every load is secured before the journey begins. Crude oil moves across land toward the refinery. Multiple routes ensure steady supply for petrol production. Rail systems transport crude oil in massive volumes for petrol. Measured filling ensures safe transport for petrol refining. Secured cargo prepares for long-distance delivery. Crude oil travels relentlessly toward the refining hub. The journey continues toward industrial transformation. Crude oil finally reaches the refinery gates. Now the refining of crude oil into petrol begins. The refinery stands ready to transform crude oil into petrol. Every drop of crude oil entering petrol production is carefully tracked. Crude oil flows into the refinery's core systems. Controlled entry ensures stable processing for petrol production. Crude oil is stored before refining into petrol begins. Each tank holds the raw material for petrol transformation. The crude oil stabilizes before entering the refining process. From storage, crude oil moves toward processing for petrol. Operators control every step toward petrol refinement.
The refinery's brain directs crude oil into petrol production.
The heart of petrol production awaits inside these towers. Before separation, crude oil is prepared for petrol extraction. Extreme heat begins the transformation into petrol. Crude oil is heated to prepare for separation into petrol. Now the real refinement of crude oil into petrol begins. Crude oil for petrol is first cleaned of water and salts. Electric fields separate impurities from crude oil for petrol. Precision control ensures cleaner crude oil for petrol refining. Impurities are removed to protect petrol production systems. Cleaner crude oil moves deeper into petrol processing. Fine filtration removes remaining particles before petrol refinement. Inspection ensures uninterrupted flow toward petrol production. Heat prepares crude oil for precise petrol separation. Temperature control is critical for petrol extraction. Exact heat levels prepare crude oil for petrol separation. Crude oil begins to transform under intense heat into petrol components. Different components rise based on their boiling points for petrol production. Petrol components begin to form from rising vapors. Controlled conditions ensure efficient petrol separation. The first petrol fraction emerges from crude oil. Separated petrol fractions from crude oil now enter advanced processing. Cracking brings heavier molecules to form more petrol. Inside the reactor, crude oil transforms into lighter petrol components. Catalysts accelerate the formation of petrol from crude oil. Heated vapors carry petrol components upward. Precise separation isolates petrol from crude oil derivatives. Petrol begins to take its refined liquid form. Every petrol stream is carefully monitored for consistency. Cooling stabilizes petrol for further refinement. Precision control ensures petrol quality from crude oil. Blending refines petrol composition from crude oil. It begins deep beneath the earth, where crude oil for petrol is brought to life. Crude oil for petrol flows upward under relentless mechanical force. The journey of petrol begins as crude oil travels through hidden arteries. Precision control directs crude oil toward its transformation into petrol. Across vast fields, crude oil for petrol is harvested continuously. Steel pipelines guide crude oil toward industrial refinement into petrol. Pressure builds as crude oil moves closer to becoming petrol. The raw material of petrol surges forward with unstoppable force. Even before refining, crude oil for petrol is carefully examined. Its dense composition holds the potential for petrol. Crude oil waits in massive tanks before becoming petrol. Each drop moves closer to its transformation into petrol. Operation ensures safe movement toward the refinery.
Now the journey toward the refinery begins.
From extraction to movement, crude oil begins its path to petrol. Crude oil for petrol now enters the transport network. Controlled channels direct crude oil toward its next destination. Tankers carry crude oil, essential for petrol refining.
Every load is secured before the journey begins.
Crude oil moves across land toward the refinery.
Multiple routes ensure steady supply for petrol production.
Rail systems transport crude oil in massive volumes for petrol. At ports, crude oil transitions to global transport systems. Ocean tankers carry crude oil across vast distances for petrol. Balanced mixing creates stable petrol output.
Clarity improves as petrol nears completion.
Impurities are removed to perfect petrol quality. From crude oil, petrol emerges refined and ready for final processing. Petrol from crude oil undergoes final chemical stabilization. Hydrogen treatment refines petrol at the molecular level. Catalysts purify petrol derived from crude oil. Precise pressure ensures high-quality petrol output. Separation refines petrol into its usable form.
Clean petrol is isolated from remaining gases.
Inspection guarantees purity of petrol from crude oil. Reforming enhances petrol performance from crude oil. Molecular restructuring boosts petrol efficiency. Cooling stabilizes the upgraded petrol. Additives finalize petrol quality from crude oil. Petrol reaches its final refined composition. Every batch of petrol meets strict standards.
Final polishing ensures premium petrol quality. From crude oil, petrol stands
fully refined and ready. Refined petrol from crude oil enters automated control systems. Automation ensures precise control of petrol flow. Digital systems guide petrol through every stage. Precision automation maintains steady petrol movement. Sensors monitor petrol flow with exact accuracy. High-powered pumps drive petrol through the system. Complex networks guide petrol to final systems. Automation ensures the purity of petrol lines. Final adjustments ensure consistent petrol quality. Safety systems protect every stage of petrol production. Automation fine-tunes petrol with unmatched precision. Petrol flows seamlessly toward final stages. Automation completes the journey toward final petrol finishing. Refined petrol from crude oil enters precision finishing systems. Exact flow control prepares petrol for final handling. Standardized containers receive petrol from crude oil. Each drum is filled with precision-measured petrol. Automation ensures accurate petrol volume in every container. Filled petrol drums move toward secure sealing. Each petrol drum is sealed for safe transport.
Inspection ensures every petrol drum meets standards.
Clear labeling identifies petrol from crude oil. Every petrol drum is digitally verified. Precision alignment prepares petrol drums for storage. Weight checks confirm accurate petrol filling. Automation stacks petrol drums with perfect precision. Petrol drums are secured for transport. Petrol from crude oil moves towards storage and dispatch. Before release, petrol from crude oil undergoes strict quality checks. Samples are taken from petrol produced from crude oil.
Petrol from crude oil enters laboratory analysis.
Precise measurement begins for petrol quality.
Octane levels define the performance of petrol.
Detailed analysis ensures purity of petrol from crude oil. Data confirms the integrity of petrol production. Safety tests verify petrol's ignition properties.
Density checks ensure consistent petrol quality. Petrol must meet strict industrial standards.
Approval certifies petrol ready for distribution. Approved petrol moves toward storage. Petrol from crude oil is stored for dispatch. From crude oil to storage, petrol is ready for delivery. Petrol from crude oil moves toward final dispatch. Heavy pallets of petrol are prepared for transport. Transport vehicles are loaded with refined petrol. Each load is positioned securely for delivery. Safety measures protect petrol during transport.
The shipment of petrol is sealed and ready.
Petrol begins its journey to distribution points.
From refinery to roads, petrol travels outward. The final stage of petrol distribution unfolds. From crude oil, petrol completes its industrial journey. Finished petrol stands ready for global use.
And this is how modern factories produce petrol from crude oil.
From refinery to the world, petrol keeps everything moving.
A complex system transforms crude oil into everyday petrol. Comment what's next.